time to talk about luxury cruising. From suites so sweet to ships elite. Come explore the world in style with me on Luxury Cruising, the podcast.
Hey, it's Crystal here. Before we get started, did you know that there is a way for you to directly support the podcast? Head over to my website, luxurycruising.net, and you can buy me a latte, a glass of champagne, or even a whole bottle of champagne if you want. Leave me a note, and I'll be sure to give you a shout out on the next episode. That's luxurycruising.net. You can also leave me a note or ask a question. Okay, let's get on with the show. Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Crystal Sodaitis, and I'm very excited to have Randy here today, who is going to tell us about his Viking River Cruise in France. So Randy, tell the audience anything you want them to know about you.
My name's Randy. I'm 43 years old. I'm from Florida, and I'm an executive chef, and my wife owns a salon, and we really started to be able to travel a lot more lately.
Awesome. So how did you come to decide on this particular Viking River Cruise?
We had seen Viking. We knew about them. We wanted to get to the smaller cruises, a little more intimate. We really liked what they had to offer. So we called, started setting it up, and we were originally trying to go to Portugal. We stepped away for a moment to discuss, if we were going to go or not. And by the time we got back to our associate, it had already sold out. But the Viking associate we had was spot on. He noticed that my email address had the chef in it, and he suggested the Viking chateaus, rivers, and wine through Bordeaux and cognac, Saint Emilion, Bordeaux, and Medoc. It was perfect for us.
Wow. So you were looking for that smaller ship experience. Had you been on larger ocean cruises before?
I have. We had just done Alaska. We'd been on others, in the Indies and stuff like that. But we went on Alaska, and it was fantastic. But it was large, and we were starting to want to get away from the larger boats. And Viking was perfect. And I've always wanted to go on a river cruise. It was just something I would have wanted to do.
Yeah. So you get over to France. Which ship were you on?
We were on the Forseti.
Okay.
And we did a day at Paris first.
Was that through Viking?
No, we just planned it ourselves. We were going to go through Viking, and then we just decided there was some time there, and we did it ourselves. But they were so helpful and with which hotels and stuff. So
yeah, that's really good service. That even though you're not on their sort of pre-cruise excursion, they still are willing to reach out to you, give you suggestions, and help to make your entire trip a really good experience. So that really speaks to, like you said, the customer service.
And just they have a lot of information. I would just ask if you have any questions on anything, really.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one thing I love about Viking is they really are about those, the cities and those immersive experiences. I love going on their website and watching all of their travel videos where they go into depth about, designations. I could lose myself. I think they call it Viking TV. I could lose myself for hours.
Yeah, but it's on the boat too. So it's always nice to watch while you're going to sleep.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. So what did you think about the ship?
I love the ship. It was always clean, and you're never packed in. There's never a point in time which I felt like there's as many people on the boat as there were, even though there weren't many. There isn't a rush for the food. There isn't a rush to the bar. So everything felt a lot more. It was a way better experience. There's not a lot of lines. They tend to have everything moving very well. And after they get your bags, there's things that I wasn't expecting that made my trip better from the beginning.
Oh, elaborate. Tell us.
Just so our bags did get lost. We made a lot of connecting flights, and they went through so much trouble to make sure my wife got her bag. And it was, a couple of days that we didn't have it, but they were the ones, the airlines weren't really helping us. And, you're overseas, so it's difficult. We're constantly calling, and they actually sent the airlines decided they were not going to send our bags to us. They actually sent someone out in their own van and went and got our bags and brought it at one of our other stops. And it was just, that level of customer service really helped our trip, because without a bag, it would have been a long trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Really.
Yeah, genuinely concerned for us. And, that they like basically celebrated up front when we finally got it. Really made us feel good. And that starts your trip off very well.
Yeah. It makes them feel like they genuinely have your best interest at heart.
And I feel like they did, I don't think it was like much, it's not a lot of acting, they have the ability to make decisions to make your trip better without going to get a manager and stuff. And that always seems like genuine. It was real. Like, that's the thing I really liked. It seemed like every employee is empowered to make your trip better.
I absolutely love that. Yeah. Any other like surprise touches that you weren't expecting?
From the front to back, it's surprising. They were always not in your way. And I don't mean that they would be, but like they were always cleaning your room at the right time. They weren't ever bothering you or knocking on a door. Anything you needed seemed to be within reason. They seemed to be able to do for you. Even at dining, they took care of everyone's. They were always made sure that you weren't getting something you didn't want or any allergen. They were just always there at the right time, handing out like, you may have forgotten it was going to rain that. They were there with a umbrella for you. It was, they knew when you got on and off the boat. They get to know you very quickly. All of it seemed genuine. It didn't seem like forced customer service.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. So tell us about the room. What kind of room did you get? And was there anything that made it seem particularly luxurious?
Yeah, we went with since the Bordeaux cruise is very little time on. It doesn't really sail that much. It's more of a mobile hotel, which we really liked. Like, I don't want time on the water when I'm in France. So we had one on the water line. And, I'm glad we did that because some of the balconies can be up against another balcony and they can also be pointed towards a busy or, a robust market, so the balcony for our cruise wasn't really what we wanted. We wanted a little more privacy. So I would definitely keep that in mind. If you're thinking about a balcony, this particular cruise is parked a lot. So it is right on port or right where there's a lot of movement, which some people might want to watch. We were outside of a skateboard park, which was really cool in France, but I liked being down below. It was nice.
Yeah,
And the rooms were heated floors was a really nice touch. Also, you get a big storage area when you're on the lowest floor because that window becomes basically like a big deck. So that lets you put the bags up. And that's nice to get things off the floor. I would say the rooms were overall nicer rooms. I don't know about size. I think they're about standard size in my opinion. But the heated floors, the showers were nice. The shampoo and conditioners, all that were really nice. So that's always good when you're traveling to be able to. But yeah, the refrigerator was a nice, it's nice to have a fridge in your room. Because you can, on these cruises, you can bring your wine back from the city you're in. And that's something we were looking forward to is being able to buy your own bottle of wine. And the market had beautiful charcuterie that we were able to bring back to our room. But no, we don't spend much time in the room. It's probably on my list of things what is important to me is really low. But they were very nice rooms.
That's beautiful. And I just want to emphasize like the heated floors. I had never heard that before about Viking. The whole stateroom or just in the bathroom?
The bathroom's completely heated. Amazing. Like it's really
that's
nice stuff.
amazing.
It's not like it wasn't as much of a cruise shower as many of them are. Like you felt very comfortable there. On just like after a long night, going back on the heated floor and always, I can't tell you how good they were at cleaning the rooms. Like they could have already cleaned it and you can go back in and the bed's remade and you never know they're just always could have gone.
That's beautiful. So anything else about the ship itself, the lounges, the other common areas that really stood out for you?
Yeah. I love the library. I love they have a library. I think all the area is meant to promote conversation. So everything, you can go as a couple and be by yourself, like no one's bothering you, but it's really easy also to go up to one of the lounges when it's raining or something. And the community there is all really inviting for you to sit down and start a travel conversation. And that was something I was going for. So the coffee area was really nice coffee. Really, some people are worried about not having food all day on the Viking cruises, but I felt like the muffins, cookies, coffee, and refreshments were more than enough.
Yeah. So I hadn't heard that before. People are worried that, there's a running joke on cruise ships that you can eat every 15 minutes. And that was a concern for people that you spoke with, that there wouldn't be food all day?
Yeah, like on Viking, I know they don't just have an all day, buffet. And there's not like late night pizza like there may be on Carnival or some of the other places. And For me, I thought the fridge and the local markets were that was what I wanted to eat anyhow. And then if not, there's always a cookie or muffin to take away a little bit of hunger. And the coffee station is constantly being used. Everyone's getting their coffees. And other than that, the bartenders will always get you a Coke or whatever drink you want. But I found it completely adequate. And yeah, that was something that didn't bother me at all.
Yeah. I love that you talked about the community because you're in your early 40s. I don't know how old your wife is, but a lot of people feel that river cruising is for older people, right? 60,
Yeah.
70.
That's
And
what we
so
heard. Yeah.
how did you what was the demographic and how did you, obviously you liked the community. So just talk a little bit about that.
We were the youngest. And, I didn't know how we would be perceived. I didn't know how. But really, right off the bat, the travelers knew you were a traveler. I know they were. And we instantly bonded. You start meeting people that act kind of parental. They knew when we weren't back for dinner, which always made us feel really good. But overall, I would say the travelers were kind of ease just kind of went away because, they had so many stories about which Viking cruise they had been on and where they'd been. And so many of those places I have questions and you can read online all day, but until you sit down with people for dinner and you start relaxing, stories really came out and everyone was extremely inviting. Not in a weird way either. People weren't, I don't know. I can't explain it other than when people, I hear people worry that there's not a lot of two people dining for two.
Yeah.
And
Two
it's
tops. Yeah.
not uncomfortable. Much less uncomfortable than on other boats. It was good conversation and we enjoyed and looked forward to it every night. Ended up being probably one of the best parts about the cruise that I didn't know if would be. Everyone's so young at heart. And yeah, it was really that part in particular really was the part that I enjoyed the most that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
I would definitely see the stories, man, and sit down with these people. And then after dinner, I don't know if it's on Viking, but dinner, it kind of releases into the lounge at night. And, I've never danced on cruises and stuff before, but I have on a Viking. It's funny because it's just a nice place to be yourself and have good conversation.
I love that. And I have said before that the one thing about cruising is you find so many people with the same interests that you have. You all wanted what did you call it? Chateau wine and something cruise?
Yeah, tattoos, rivers, and wine. So our cruise was concentrated on wine tours and food.
Yeah.
That's the kind of crowd I was around.
Yeah. And all of you shared that interest. So of course you're going to have something to talk about, regardless of how old you are.
Right. And then I was a chef. So that really brought it in quickly to, we all had that interest. And yeah, they all love food. So talking about it, we went to the market that day was a big part of my day, speaking about what we found at the market with the meats and the fresh vegetables and the different wines. The markets are just so vibrant, amazing. In France.
Yeah.
They were incredible.
Yeah.
Second to none, really. What else? Oysters and just everything you could want. And those people were there for the same reason. And it's easy to find common ground.
Absolutely. So that's a good segue. Tell us about your thoughts on the food.
I thought the food was excellent. From my point of view, what they have to do and how they execute was just incredible that they can cook food of that quality for that amount of people with honestly that many people's different takes on the food. You got to do temps. You've got to do people's allergies. The chef was really sharp. He was young too, very young chef. But he did a great job. And, you're not allowed to go down the kitchen anymore. I asked if I could go see their kitchen. I was interested in how it all worked. But those guys were busting their butt for us. They really did. And they did a beautiful dinner at a chateau. It was a surprise. We walked into the chateau and this fine dining dinner was set up. But we didn't have a problem with the food at all. Breakfast was great. You can find the thing you like. And they'll if it's one of the dailies, there's always a burger. There's always the common food. And then what I thought was pretty cool about it is they didn't shy away from tough foods. They had, snails and they had the local fare and they didn't dumb it down. And I thought that was really commendable. And furthermore, everyone at the table was ordering those items. When they had the one-off foods, the weirder foods, I was expecting it to be, not people maybe didn't order it or shied away from it, but people were going head into trying new foods. And it was the chef did a fantastic job. I
Yeah.
mean, hats off. It's a very
Yeah,
hard thing to do.
and that just speaks to what we were saying before, is that this is a crowd of people who had the same interest in exploring the different types of food that you did. Were they
Yeah.
locally sourcing the food as well?
Yeah, they were at each port. They would get maybe some of the things that were famous for the wines too. And then my first day there, the thing I wanted to do most is go to a market. Like I know it's small, but I wanted to go to a market and check out what France had. And the day we pulled in, our boat was parked next to Bordeaux's market, the weekend market. Like it was in the middle of it, and it was just so neat. It really was. Like I was just blown away. I couldn't take enough pictures. The cheeses, the oysters, the cured, the meats, it just kept going. Like it just kept going and going, and everything was so reasonably priced. France is a lot cheaper than I thought it would be. I'm not, I expected it to be New York, Miami's type prices, and it wasn't. It was very reasonable. And the restaurants in town were just amazing.
And was that even in Paris, or just like more outside of Paris?
We were there a day, but Bordeaux was really what stole my heart. Paris is great, but Bordeaux is a miniature version, and it had everything going for it. The restaurants were fantastic. Some of the wines we bought for $12, $15 which blew anything out of the water I can get here. Like, the service is unique there. They don't rush you out. That you eat slow. Your wine comes slow, and it's your table. It's not kind of like American dining where they're like, all right, here's your bill. So we had to get used to that, asking for your bill, things like that. I would suggest France to anyone.
Yeah, love that. And, it's really similar to the way that you cook too, right? Because you're very much a farm to table chef.
Yes.
And also here, it's like straight from the market, maybe not from the farm, but from the market to the ship. Parallels to your
right. We actually run a market, my farm does have a market. So going there and seeing what they do in comparison was like, well, we have a long way to go as, in the dining department. They're so proud of everything too. Like even with limited English, they're very proud, some limited English, but the market, there was less English being spoken, but they know what you're talking about. They know what you're pointing to. And I got a whole other education just going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure they're trying to talk to you because they can sense someone who knows the food, who understands the food.
Yeah.
And it's also another sort of shared language, shared interest.
Sure. And they're very kind about that. Like, and letting you try things. I wouldn't be afraid of any of the food there. Like, I know some of it looks different and, but I tried everything I can get my hands on and enjoyed all of it. Even at their gas stations, they have charcuterie and like fresh meat sliced. Like it was just a different world. That's something I loved about France. And I would love to see in the United States is more of that fresh food, even at convenience stores.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So did you do any of the Viking excursions?
My wife did. She did one in Belay and Borg. I actually went to go make cognac that day. So she didn't want to do the cognac tour, which is an amazing tour. She went and did a Viking tour and really liked it. I think it was on this, I don't want to say it out of line, but it was on one of those hiking trails, like one of the long trails.
Yeah.
So it was like paralleled it. And she really enjoyed that.
And was the cognac tour also through Viking or did you?
Yes. It was a cognac tour was through Viking. We went to Seamus and you went down the barrel room, hung out with the blender, and then you had a chance to blend your own bottle, which is a great experience. It really was very cool. And they send it, you can either take it with you, which I felt safe and I had room in my bag. So I took mine, but they'll mail it to you and you have your own blend. And then when you get home, if you drink it, you can call up Seamus and they'll redo your blend. They keep it on file. So you can keep ordering.
Wow. That's really nice.
It was really cool. And we did a truffle tour, which was really cool too. So the truffle, we got to eat fresh truffles, see how it works, get dinner after. They did everything was really well done. And I don't think I would have been able to get Camus to make my own cognac without him. So
yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if you even if that was a Viking specific tour or if it's something that anybody can walk off the street and do.
Yeah. And even, if I showed a lot of interest in it. And so the main blender, without me paying anything extra or anything, really took me aside and let me try some of the finest cognacs they've made, which, the price in cognac is really high. So being able to taste some of those and experience it with the blender was, man, it was just amazing to me.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So let's take a step back from this cruise for a minute. And I would love to know, what's your definition of luxury?
I would say for me, it's always about maybe experiencing, tasting, things that not everyone can do, or it's not even about money. It would be being able to be there, get there. In Florida, it's maybe getting to a spring that's not well known, no one else is there. So luxury for me would be getting to experience things that, that you could tell a story about. Maybe a lot of people don't maybe either have the opportunity to have in a position to be able to do. It doesn't always, to me, it's definitely not attached to a dollar sign.
Yeah. Did this cruise meet that definition for you?
100%. Like if you want to put it that way, even from that side of things, there's no doubt it's a luxury. It's from the time you step on and the comfort, that you are with good people, you're with good customer service, and the boat's impeccable. They're cleaning it constantly. They're cleaning that boat outside, inside, everything. There's no worn out old furniture. There's no stains on the carpets. Like, I found it to be extremely luxurious. Everything's dusted and polished. Like, I like that. You're in a clean area. Honestly, when I'm paying that much money, sometimes it's really hard to get what you expect out of your money anymore. Especially, you buy a really hotel and you get there and you're like, well, this did not make me feel like I'd wasted a dime at all. Like, the whole experience was worth it. And if nothing else, it actually was, I felt like a good value for luxury.
Yeah.
Cruise.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't know, is that, you see the initial price tag and there's so many things that are included. The way you're treated, it makes up for it. And it does become a really decent value. It's not going to be an inside stateroom on a 20-year-old, Carnival or a Royal Caribbean ship, but it's still a good value.
The value's there that takes the initial sting. Once you get on the boat and you realize you have something to do every day if you don't want to buy an excursion. And they're not like gimme excursions. They're nice. They're good. Like, I only went to go eat truffles and go make cognac because it's like on a bucket list. But if I didn't, it would have been just fine without any of them. The walking around where they park you is very important. They're putting you in a very nice part of the city that if you want to get out and walk, you don't need anyone and you're safe. I would say that it's very good value in the luxury department.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you have any dream cruises or luxury cruises plans coming up?
The Portugal. We definitely want to go to the Arctic on some of the more, like, maybe more adventurous, Alaska, like, kind of got our whistle wet, but some of the more expedition style cruises I'd really like to check out. That's definitely on our bucket list. And maybe some of the multi-country, like going across like Denmark now, stuff like that would be incredible. But yeah, this is our first one. I know it won't be our last one.
Well, awesome. Anything else you want listeners to know about?
No, I just say don't be scared to go. Like, any age, like I would say even in your 30s, like it's fine. Like, it was so much better in that department than I thought it would be. The entertainment's great. Everyone goes to bed at a good, decent time. You get up and you're ready to go the next morning. I found it to be way less stress. And I actually felt like I had 6-7 days of actually relaxing the whole time. Like, you do not have to lift a finger with Viking. And I'm not being paid by them or anything. It really, truly is just a great experience. And I would encourage anyone, honeymoon would be great on one. But yeah, that's all I have to say about them, and just get out there and travel.
Well, awesome. Well, Randy, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you telling us about this experience on Viking. And to the audience, thank you for listening. And until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious travel. Hey, before you go, if you're enjoying this content, I would so appreciate a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you'd like to be on the show, there's a link to a form in the show notes, or you can email me at luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. That's luxurycruisingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.